So I would love for you to give your experience. You know, it's one thing for me to just talk about it, but I would love for you've been through that firsthand. So from just the beginning of what made you go this direction, what were you on before that made you go into a bioidentical hormone pellet direction, and then your process and how you feeling since your pellet?
So one of the main reasons I came to you early on was because I just started to have like a domino effect of health conditions. It just went, I mean, I won't even go into all of them, but it started with one, and the domino effect was crazy. With the amount of different things I've had go on and different things I've been diagnosed with since. But this was one of the things that you looked at that I'd had testosterone testing before previously, but nobody ever really batted an eye at them or said anything about them until you did. And then once you did, I went down my own rabbit hole on, because the minute I find anything that I kind of have an issue with my health or anything, especially health related lately, I just, I get hyper focused in on it, want to learn everything I can about it. One of the things even previously that I, got diagnosed with probably, or right around the same time was ADHD, which I had no clue how much my ADHD and the testosterone, like, you got to kind of separate those issues out to try to figure out what is ADHD, what is testosterone, what are the problems. And you were the first one that started me on any kind of TRT treatment or anything like that. We started me on the injections, which actually my brother had started on, and ironically enough, I guess I didn't really think about it, but around the exact same age, he started taking testosterone shots at the same time, and then we started having an issue with my blood levels.
The blood levels been too thick.
Yeah. And ironically enough, like, then it jogged my memory that my brother started having the exact same problem, because my mom would take him to go get bloodlettings done and stuff like that at the hospital that his doctor that he had to have because of the fact that he was on the testosterone. So we went down that route. Ran into some complications with some synthetic injections and stuff like that. I even went to a couple different doctors and stuff like that. And, one of the doctors was just telling me I didn't even need to be on TRT treatment. I didn't need testosterone therapy. It would just, the only point of getting testosterone is just to make you feel macho. He did. And and for some people maybe, but for me it was the furthest from the truth. Whenever we get my testosterone levels adjusted to where they need to be, I'm definitely able to tell what is issues with testosterone and what is my ADHD. More specifically, like my mental health when it comes to my testosterone, because my anxiety levels go through the roof, my depression is crazy. It amplifies all my ADHD stuff. I've got, in addition to ADHD, especially when you're diagnosed later in life, you'll have anxiety or RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria, I think is the way it's pronounced or said. So having my levels optimized allows me to be able to identify those to where I can categorize them how I need to, function throughout the day. Like, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on therapists. Went down the route of having a gene site test done. I had another doctor eventually tell me that, sorry, I did that because it was a waste and I shouldn't have. I took started on the exact medication that I needed for my anxiety, which I was on multiple ones before that. Nothing ever worked. That's why I went down the route of paying all the money for the gene site test. The number one medication, they put me on it. After a few weeks, I realized it was not what I needed to be on, went off of it, and it took roughly like 6 weeks to get out of my system. That was all before I, started coming in and seeing you, and we couldn't figure out what was like going wrong, what was going on with me mentally. That was my biggest thing. But then once we got my levels where they needed to be, it was almost like I woke up one morning and like somebody flipped a light switch as far as the way I felt, and like I noticed the difference, like waking up one morning and just all of a sudden I could feel that I was a different person mentally.
Yeah, because I remember that day when you come in after your pellet assessment, you told me that it was just like one day you woke up and you were like, wow, I haven't felt this good in how many years?
Longer than that. I mean, my 10th wedding anniversary was this week, and honestly, it had been probably 10 years or so since I'd felt that good. I felt more like myself then than I had like in close to 10 years. It was a game changer for me mentally. My life in general, just the way I felt. And whenever you can get yourself mentally feeling that much better, everything else just starts to fall into place. All the normal stuff with life. So it's definitely a game changer.
I love this, and this is real. This is raw. This is real because I've been on this journey with you for at least a couple of years, and I know how you even struggle with the shots because they were up and down. Some days you felt pretty good. You're like, okay, maybe we got it, and then it's just kind of right back down to where you were, and then your levels, your blood levels were just so thick, and so that medicine just didn't work for you. And I know we spoke about it too. We even spoke about the price of the pellets. Just been real here. And you were like, oh goodness, I don't really know if I want to.
It was something that I wanted to make sure I could like sustain long term, because so much with healthcare and everything is so expensive anyway. And if this was my only expense, it'd be one thing. But me, I'm constantly having something done or having to go somewhere, planning a hip replacement this year that I'm finally going to get done. I've needed, and so and I've got a lot of people in the house that I'm responsible for, take care of. So cost was definitely a factor. But when it comes to the way I feel like on this and with this stuff, it's going to pay off in the long run, because I'm not going to, like I said, the money I paid for even therapists and various different medications that doctors wanted to put me on that I really didn't want to be on, to just try and see what happened and see what worked, that failed. And whenever you do that, it takes a toll with your daily life, with your work, with your family, with everything. So like I said, when you start mentally feeling dialed in, everything else starts to fall into place. The work, the family, everything. The golf game, not being so frustrated every time I shank that shot, and instead of shanking it and being aggravated, I figure out what's wrong and I fix it. So everything. And for me, that's the biggest game changer, because with what I've spent on my mental health and finally finding something that gets me to where I need to be, I mean, that's worth everything for me.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your